see what the stories are across the papers in Nigeria. I have with me in the studio two public affairs analysts to do justice to this. Olade Ndiario is here. He's a strategist and consultant on public affairs. And we also have Dikbo Oyewale. Gentlemen, good morning. Nice to see you both.
Good morning.
Nice Great. To see you again. Okay. Now let's begin with the News Direct. Nigeria News Direct is the first paper we're looking at this morning. Senate President seeks state of emergency on power sector. That's the News Direct this morning. That's what you see there. From there, the blueprint is also focusing on power. And it says, darkness looms as GenCos, DisCos seek 1.2 trillion naira bailout. The Senate urges state of emergency. You'll see that on the front page of the blueprint as well, talking about power this morning. All right. I guess my guests will be interested in these as we get along. The next paper now is Daily Times. Daily Times this morning says Nigerians brace up for tough times. New tax regime to commence amidst high inflation, and experts dissect gains, loopholes of finance bill. Okay, you find all that on the front page of the Daily Times. Okay, now let's go to The Guardian. Buhari DSS not ultimatum to free Shore, Dasuki, others. Okay, Foreign Affairs Ministry downplays comment by U.S. lawmaker and how activist ordeal forced deferral of award to Oshibajo. You find all that on the front page of The Guardian. The Nation is next now. The Nation says row grows over Shore as presidency groups clash. Okay, rights bodies to occupy NHRC offices. Okay, today is World Human Rights Day after all, so you're going to see lots of these activities. Vanguard is the next one now. Shore's rearrest, Amnesty International, Serap, others threaten mass action and issue 14-day ultimatum to federal government on his release and demand apology from federal government over desecration of Federal High Court by the DSS. Okay, you find all that on the front page of the Vanguard. Okay, gentlemen, before we go into, if we have time to go into these human rights issues earlier, let's talk about the issue of power. I wonder if you have power enough where you live anyway.
You don't understand. Because of Zipo, okay. I wanted to come in suit, you know. I couldn't iron my shirt. So that's why I'm here in my regular badge.
All right.
To start with.
Now, the Senate is seeking for a state of emergency in the power sector. It's one thing Nigerians have called for all the while. And now GenCos and DisCos are requesting for over a trillion naira bailout.
While you were doing the intro, I told them that they are asking for their own oil subsidy.
Is that how you see it?
That's why I see it.
All right.
That's
you see, the point is this. The power structure or facility that we had, they were not working. And in its own wisdom, government said, let's look for people who have the capability to at least handle distribution, okay? While generation is given to companies too, and then the government still handle the transmission. Yeah. But what have we seen? When they came on, government had to give them money to, I don't know, they gave it a name, I can't remember now, like matching grass or something. And I was asking if my car is not performing and I wanted to sell or lose out, am I to now give the person taking the car from me, you know, the seed fund or something?
You give them take-off grants.
At the end of the day, they've been there now for how many years? We are not any better than it was. And all of these declaration of emergency over issues is just looking for excuses. Something is not right. If you don't know what to do, call the experts. Let them do reviews, come up with the way forward, and then we execute.
All right. Now, Dipo, I wonder what you make of all of this call for bailout. They've been bailed out not once. They've received bailout before. And it seems government is just comfortable with it and nothing is happening. And there's no stick, no heads are rolling for...
No stick,
you know,
no carrot approach, or
no,
anything. Okay,
maybe,
so I think it's
maybe
just
carrot,
carrot
it is.
approach.
Maybe it's just carrot.
Just carrot.
Just carrot, no stick.
But what do you think of
Okay,
this?
so for me, I think it stems from the fact that we do not have a clear sense of accountability with issues. Because I see no reason why you would want to bail out someone or an organization financially, and there is no clear sense of oversight. You're not demanding for results. I mean, if you bail out an organization to the tune of £1 billion at least, they should be able to show you trackable results to say that, you know what, over this period of time, this is what we've been able to do. But so far, we've not seen that done on the side of the government. And whenever they come hat in hand to ask for funds, they are quick to release the funds, and that's all. We don't get to know if the power gets any better, if it gets any worse, which they don't seem to be interested in. So the question is, what is the point of releasing the funds in the first place? Are there any clear metrics in place when you're releasing the funds? Are there any promises made? Are there any pledges to that effect to ensure that? Because I mean, I would expect that when you come to the government to bail you out with funding, you come to them with a plan, to tell them that these are the milestones we are for the first quarter of 2020.
This is what we expect
third quarter of
to achieve
2020.
for a period
We're
of
looking
time.
to do this, we're looking to do that. And the people in charge of such affairs in government, have they been able to go back to have a meeting with them and say, okay, you know what, this is the second quarter of the year. What have you done so far? But we're not seeing anything in that regard. So it is quite questionable. And declaring a state of emergency, I mean, we declare a state of emergency on every single thing. For me, I think it's just one of those rhetorics that we like to throw around in Nigerian space.
You know, I would have expected that there would be schedules indicating timelines and then showing the benchmarks on a period-to-period basis, whereby if we start from level 0, 3 months after we should be at 20%, maybe in 6 months at 40, progressively like that, that will be getting value for money. But in this case, it's not been so. That's why I said they're asking for their own subsidy. Unfortunately, and very painfully, we are talking of our patrimony being freely dashed out to organizations who should be, you know, paying us instead of...
Because they're private sector companies that have come to invest in a certain venture.
Those who said that these things were given as job for the boys, to say thank you to those who aided them at one time or the other, they can't be too far from it. You cannot say they are too wrong, I mean, that they are wrong. Because we're not getting value for our investment. And it's just, it's painful and it's unfortunate. Because we have made power to remain intractable over the years. I had said that my children will not grow to know up NEPA. But unfortunately, hey, it's
still part of our vocabulary
But
so many years.
If you may not necessarily be that engineer who might sit down and have the magic wand to say this is how it should go, but what would you like to see as a Nigerian when it comes to the way forward for this power sector and so on?
A clear-cut plan and a way to execute it, and the will to execute it. Because in Nigeria, we had a lot of plans in the past with regards to different issues. Security, even power.
When it comes to how, we're not in lack at all.
We're not in lack of it. So it is the willpower to actually get things done. Execution. I believe that's one major challenge we have in this country, getting things done. We can talk a lot of talk. We can walk in the walk, walk in the talk. Walk in the talk is a very different situation. So I think that for me, I would like to see a lot of execution. We're declaring a state of emergency on this as well. Let's see what will come out of it, but we need to do something.
All right,
finally, let's stop this business as usual mentality. You are here because you are qualified. I was invited here. I was invited because your organization thinks we have something to offer. The moment anybody gets into any position or a company gets a right to any public asset and they can't add value or deliver value, let them go and make it open. It's a global industry. Nigeria should stop doing things as if we are just one island on ourselves. No, we are part of the global community. That's the only way we can walk away from all the stigma that we are carrying around.
All right. We have to leave it here now. Oladin Dario, thank you so much for your insight and analysis into this. And Dick Boyewale, thank you very much for coming as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. You're watching TVC Breakfast and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast. Is still to come on the show.
Well, it's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. I have with me in the studio public affairs analyst Oladende Ario and strategy consultant and public affairs analyst Dikbo Oyewole. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. All right, we head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the news direct. Senate President seeks state of emergency in power sector. I will move to the blueprint. Power, darkness looms as GenCos, DisCos seek 1.2 trillion naira bailout. Senate urges state of emergency. And to the front page of the Daily Times now, Buhari's finance bill. Nigerians brace up for tough times. New tax regime to commence amidst high inflation. Experts dissect gains, loopholes of finance bill. On the front page of The Guardian now, Buhari DSS gets ultimatum to free Sowore, Dasuki others. Foreign Affairs Ministry downplays comment by U.S. lawmaker. How activists ordeal forced deferral of award to Oshibaju. And on the front page of The Nation newspaper, row grows over Sowore as presidency groups clash, rights bodies to occupy NHRC offices. And finally, on the front page of the Vanguard, Showore's rearrest, Amnesty International, Serap, others threaten mass action, issue 14-day ultimatum to federal government on his release, demand apology for federal government over desecration of Federal High Court by the DSS. And that's the story we'll be looking at, gentlemen. Today is World Human Rights Day, but then we'll narrow it down to Showore's issue. We know what happened on Friday and all of that. There are a whole lot of them. But then we'll pick Showore's issue because it is
very correct,
recent. And we saw what happened at the courts. Now, the question is, the Amnesty is now looking at, Amnesty, Serap, and some other rights groups are threatening mass action and giving the federal government a 14-day ultimatum to release Sowore. How does this change the mix in all of the things that has been happening?
Thank you very much. You see, for me, the story leaves a very terrible, sad taste in the mouth. Why? We saw how this thing started, and gradually it became a bad case. So much that, from my training, a courtroom and an embassy ground, anywhere in the world, they are considered sacred. And when you say a courtroom, it's the temple of justice. Whatever it was, whatever narrative anybody now want to put up to defend or to explain away what transpired, it was a huge minus for us.
There has been an apology. That is not enough?
We had that. It should never have happened.
In the first place.
There was no basis for it. You see, in life, there are lines that you don't cross, that you must never cross, whereby the moment you cross them, apologize 1 trillion times. It will not erase the evil and the damage. Here is a country looking for foreign direct investments. How would they now rate us when they see us harming people in the court? No matter what, the court will be closed for the day, the gates will be locked or the doors will be locked, and then he will have to leave the courtroom. If he had to be arrested, he would simply have been arrested at that point. Now, when you place that side by side Dasuki case, who has been in detention for all the life of this government, you begin to wonder, what if it is me? Okay? I mean, it could happen to anybody.
And that is why the question is being asked with regards to our human rights and upholding the rule of law. If really we are ready to really do this, uphold the tenets of the rule of law. For all that we have seen now, let's not waste time mentioning the examples. Yeah. For all that we have seen, I would say we are very far from it. What we're doing now is just paying lip service. That's my position. Lip service, Dikbo? Is that what it is?
Yes, it is lip service, because I think that what happened in the courtroom on Friday that we saw was taking us several decades back, because, I mean, like you rightly said, it's the temple of justice. It's called that for a reason. Even in the United States, if for some reason you were to be arrested or detained by ICE, for example, to be deported, and you're in the courtroom, I mean, we've had different cases in the news where the judges have said, you know what, this is my courtroom. You do not have a say in here. After the person leaves my courtroom, no problem. You can pick the person up. But while the person is in my courtroom, you do not have any authority there. So I think that once we've lost the security that the judiciary provides for the normal people, the regular folk of the society, I think that as a people, we are really going down a very, very narrow and dark path.
And people have asked where then lies the hope of the common man. Because that's what the judiciary is.
That's what the judiciary is. So
Yes.
if the sacrilege has been able to happen, and we're saying that we're relying on an apology, I'm a huge fan of precedents, because I believe that sometimes certain things need not happen in the first place. But when they do happen, the question is, will it happen again, and then there will be an apology? Because now an apology is said to be acceptable.
So how do we address this and, you know, uphold, protect the
there should
judiciary?
Be consequences. There should be consequences. Where are those agents of the DSS? Are they being punished? Are they being brought to book? Or are we just going to stay at the level of an apology? Because, like I said, once you know that you've been able to do something and you get away with it just with an apology, you will do it again, and then you will apologize. Because, I mean, why would you not accept my second apology because you have accepted my first apology? So it's just basic human nature. Yeah. But I believe that we need to do better as a people to understand that there's a place for consequences for our actions and for our own democracy, and to understand that there's a place of posterity in all we do. We need to set very good examples.
Linked to that is what they call Okafor's law, that says whatever has happened before can happen again. National Assembly was invaded by the same DSS a while ago. Of course, the DG then was removed, whereby the no consequence phenomenon was shattered. But despite that, we've seen a repeated action now, because what they did for me was an invasion.
The NBA has called for the removal of
the DG, but do they have to call for his removal before it's removed? Let him come and tell the world that he didn't know about what transpired. The box stood at his desk. People have to know that we cannot continue doing things as if we are God. Stop playing God. You are DG today, tomorrow you will not be there. People have been there before you. You should be mindful of what you do to people. In any case, all of these agencies are about us Nigerians. You do not trample on my rights, because we are joint stakeholders. Nobody has a higher stake in this country more than me and you and the men on the street. Therefore, your personal interest or security should not be hidden under the guise of national security to trample on our rights. That was a big mess.
We're all Nigerians, and there's nobody that is a lesser Nigerian.
Yeah.